That's all, folks.
You requested it, so we rewound.
Previously.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Face, and today we're here with another great show. As usual, I got my two co-hosts with me, Mr. Key Issues and Black Crown Comics. So we're gonna go ahead and pull those guys in.
What's up, fam?
Hey,
there he is.
What's going on, guys?
Not much.
Good to see you guys again, for sure.
No place I'd rather be on a Monday.
Yep.
Another week, another great show. Today we got a special guest joining us, so we're gonna go ahead and not keep him sitting in backstage. We're gonna go ahead and bring him on in, Mr. Dan De La Torre. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here with us, man. We appreciate it,
gentlemen. Thanks for having me on. It's gonna be a lot of fun tonight.
Oh yeah,
of course,
yes.
Of course, it always is. So before we get started, we'll go ahead and say hi to the chat and everything. We got a few people that have already been joining us, come in to see Dan. Bleecker Street Comics is here. Zen Multiverse. We got Miguel in the chat. Just Lordly, of course. Pacino's Comics. Look at this guy.
There it is. There it is.
Lord of mercy.
Mr. Key Issues. Who knew he'd be here?
Boy, it's already an all-star chat.
Right.
Got some big names here. All right.
But yeah, like I said, thank you. We definitely appreciate you joining us, Dan, and giving us some more of your knowledge. It's always good to have that, especially from someone who's an experienced collector and has the knowledge that you do for a lot of the keys that people are currently looking at and going after with a lot of the MCU stuff that's going on right now. So
it's a great time to be a comic collector. It just is on so many levels, and the icing on the cake is the MCU with they're just constant brilliance. Hit after hit after hit. They've got everyone excited, and I don't see any end in sight.
Yeah, I agree, man. I don't see them. There's not really much. The way that it seems like they're setting it up is that they're trying to, build it in a fashion that they really don't need to end it. I mean, they have so many possibilities out there that they can explore. They can just keep telling stories for the most part.
Well, I mean, the Loki show is a great example of that. It's a 6-issue show, and they're building up slowly, and they're not rushing anything. And they've got everyone talking about this show. Episodes 4 and 5 were stellar. We'll talk about that later on in the show, but this is the way to do it. This is definitely the way to do it.
I agree. I'm liking what I'm seeing from the MCU. What do you guys think?
100%. Now, Dan, I gotta ask you. Out of those 5 episodes we got, is 5 your favorite? There was a lot of good appearances in there.
Actually, 4 is my favorite at this point. And I'll tell you guys, I won't get into it now because we'll get into a whole discussion.
For sure.
5 is a very close. Well, they're side by side. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah.
And anyway, don't get me started. We'll go. I'll spoil it.
Okay. We'll save it.
Have either one of you seen Black Widow yet?
Oh yes. Yes.
Okay.
No.
Yes, I went on the premiere. I think since the MCU started, I haven't missed a movie on premiere night. Pacino Comics, I think, catches me at all of them too. But it was a great movie. It was honestly, it actually surprised me. That's all I'm gonna say. There was good surprises, some weird ones that I just didn't see coming. To be honest with you.
Right.
Yep. And that post-credit scene. That post-credit scene.
No, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it for me. Come on, baby. Come on.
That post-credit.
I'm on lockdown over here. Our stuff doesn't open until Friday.
I'm sorry. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. You want to stream it? I'll watch it with you.
Oh my God, please.
There you go.
Bring candles.
Oh, snap.
The blankets, build a fort.
I've got 2 daughters. They're both in their 20s. We're going to see it on Wednesday. We're all going to see it together. So, but I'm not surprised that there's all sorts of secrets and how great it is. And think about this. this is the brilliance of this MCU. They have to entertain people like myself who've been at it for decades and people who've never seen comic shows before. And they're doing a fabulous job across the board. Everyone is talking about it. Everyone's entertained on every level.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the beauty of the MCU is that there is pretty much, something out there for everyone.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, no question about it.
Both the casual.
So speaking of the
better.
timeline, I wanted to, one of the points I want to get, I have a list of notes here of things we can touch on, would be timeline itself. And the way I sold it on my IG was this show would be about connecting the Silver Age to current age. Now that's a huge span of time.
Yes.
With Fantastic Four in 1961 all the way to today, that's now it's 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so
sure.
If I may, what I wanted to do is set the table this way, where I wanted to express why I have such a fascination with silver, bronze, and copper age, and why I stopped in the 90s. And now here is 25 years later, I'm considering getting back in because I see from all three of you the excitement that I had 30-something years ago with the comics I bought at the time. So let's start with why I have such a fascination for it. When I first started buying comics, in fact, this is the very first book I ever bought in 1976. This is Hulk 197. I still have it.
That's awesome that you still have it too.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it looks mint.
It looks clean, yeah.
Well, because it's in 4 mil Mylar. It's a total sentimental issue. It's not worth much. It's pretty worn out. But that's the first book that I bought at a 7-Eleven back in '76, I think it was.
Crazy.
And I started buying. That's when they had the racks, where you stack all the books there. You rotate them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why, but Marvel covers were the ones I got into, the ones I started buying, and I had DC books that were given to me, but they didn't really grab me. As I started to read, it didn't take long before I was hooked with the characters, the storyline, and I started to look into back issues because one thing Marvel did very well was you'd read, let's say, issue 52, and they said, "Oh, something happened in issue 21."
Yeah.
I thought, I don't have issue 21. I got to go find this. So to show you how old I am, I had to go to the Yellow Pages and dial the phone with the rotary phone and find a comic store. The first comic store I ever went to was Comic Relief in Berkeley. It was the best LCS you could ever. It's no longer in existence, but the best shop you'd ever had. And I went there and I just bought and I kept buying. And then Bronze Age went to Silver Age, and I was so enthralled with the stories. I loved it. I loved it because of what Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Ditko did in those days, where it was called the Marvel Method. You create a character, you fall in love with this character, you imagine yourself as this character. But one thing they did that DC really didn't do was they put a human element to these characters. You could relate to, Peter Parker, Hulk, or whatever, as opposed to, again, as a child, I love Superman, Batman, all that. But it's who can relate to a child born on another planet, comes over here, he's granted almost godlike powers. It's got to be an impossible story to write for, but we can't really relate to that.
Yeah,
Same with a child that sees his parents shot in an alleyway. He becomes Batman. He's a multi-millionaire or billionaire, whatever. It's a great story, but we can't relate to this. We could relate to a nerdy kid who loves science, who was always picked on. He was too afraid to talk to girls, and he was always broke. We could all relate to that. That was Peter Parker. And then the rage that Hulk had because he was also picked on most of his life, and now he has this incredible power. He's taking back, the things that happened to him. There was this down-to-earth level that Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Ditko and the Marvel bullpen put forward.
Yeah, Dan, sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but another thing they do touch base on a lot is also current world problems. I find that's another thing.
That's an outstanding point. They were able to talk about things that the people wanted to talk about, or the way the world evolved, but they didn't cross political lines, and it wasn't in your face. They were it was not subtle. They were more of as a matter of fact. So I love this as much as possible. And then all of a sudden in the 90s, something happened. In the 90s, I stopped, let's say it was 95 when I stopped. That was 34 years since Fantastic Four #1. There were new writers, new artists, the whole thing. And then they started going in a different direction. and it wasn't the same anymore. Plus, the comics were getting more expensive. They were 25 cents when I first started. Now they're $1.50, and I'm not really interested anymore. So I didn't have FOMO. That wasn't the thing in those days. I didn't care about missing out. It just, they lost me. And the second time that happened to me, because when I was a kid, there were two things as a nerdy kid like myself that you gravitated towards: comic books and Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek also grabbed me just as much as Stan Lee's Marvel. Roddenberry knew what he wanted. He knew how to project it, and he had me. And I loved everything that he did, including the movies that came out with the original cast, Next Generation. And he also had people that surrounded him that were similar to Stan Lee's Marvel bullpen. So when Roddenberry died in 91, those people knew what Roddenberry wanted. So they curated Deep Space Nine and Voyager, and they were fantastic. When I stopped watching Star Trek was the movies. J.J. Abrams is awful. He has no clue what Roddenberry wanted.
Yep.
So I say all this to sort of paint the picture as to why I loved those eras back in comics. I stopped in the 90s. So what I want to do is ask all three of you, what is it that grabs you today with comics? And there's no right or wrong answer. Yep. And then I want to sort of do a timeline and backtrack. How far do you go back? Was it just current stuff? Was it stuff in the 90s? Is that considered a different era than today? Because that's 15 years ago. Yep. And then how much do you know about copper, bronze, and silver age? So, Keys, let's start with you.
All right. So today, the comics today, what really draws me is the diversity and definitely diversity and the variety. The diversity, as in the characters, the new characters that they come out with, the representation, to really touch base on all the population out there. You know what I'm saying? It's not so centered on specific individuals or specific sect groups. And variety. I love the fact that there is no just a Marvel and DC. Now you have a Boom to look out for. Yeah, you have an Image that, kind of grew away from Spawn and is coming up with some crazy stuff now. I like the censorship, like the creator content, and they can actually control their content. I'm not saying it wasn't like that in other periods, but it's definitely less restricted now. And I love that kind of stuff. And I think what also draws me in is these creators, just due to the time, social media and whatnot, are now connecting more with their audience rather than just the back of the book or just going to cons. Now it takes 2 seconds to like one of your audience's pictures or share something between you two or message each other. So I love the connections, and I love the new variety of characters that are out.
Okay.
Yeah.
What got you started in comics, and what grabbed your attention? Do you remember your first comic?
So everybody's gonna hate me for this because I'm the youngin' of the group, and I started off in the dark time known as the 90s. So as a kid, it was literally just like, the 90s were campy, they were colorful, they were loud, to say the least. The style was loud, and that's what drew me in.
Pouches.
So,
Pouches.
Yeah. Say who?
Pouches, man.
Oh, pouches.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Pouches.
Oh my God, for sure.
Pouches and foil. And foil.
That's what got me in.
Yep,
foil covers.
Man. Oh, my Valiant foil covers. Oh my God. Oh.
How are they holding up?
They're actually surprisingly decent. I'm not gonna lie.
Good.
And that's definitely what drew me in. And then Spider-Man is what got me. And at that moment, animated shows were huge, and that's what really pulled me in. So I feel like that's what the new collectors now with the MCU is kind of experiencing, almost a very similar effect. They got these big MCU movies that are drawing them in. For me, it was the animated shows that got me. So
how about you, BC?
A lot of what Keys is touching point on in the last half of this is pretty much my story more or less as well, because growing up in the 90s, it was that Spider-Man cartoon, the X-Men coming on.
Yes.
I was just like, yo, this is life.
Yes, right.
So
wait, can you do that sound effect one more time for us, please?
No.
That's a clip.
But realistically, it was like, it stood out to me. It was the coolest thing ever. And then I ended up hitting up a comic shop with my aunt and my cousin, and it was the first comic I picked up, right? It was Venom Licensed to Kill. Don't ask me why that was my first ever comic, but that was it.
Okay.
And then I hopped onto Amazing Spider-Man. But then from there, and to answer your question as to what bridges from, let's say, that point where we are today to the past, immediately falling in love with Spider-Man, I was like, hey, there's so much more I want to learn here, right? So you start to get curious. You start looking into all of these other back issues and whatnot, and here I am being like 14 years old, walking up to a counter with like the little change that my grandma gave me for finally eating my food. And I would walk in and be like, yeah, hey, where can I find this? And the guy's like, here you go. So it was a lot of discovering through the cartoons, the animation when I was a child. And like he said today, you can say that the MCU is doing the same thing, let's say, the animation cartoons did for people like us growing up in the 90s. Now, my interest as I got older, and now that we're collecting, let's say, modern books, I'm gravitating away sincerely from Marvel and the big two, Marvel, DC, and I'm finding myself in indies. Reason being is because of the storytelling. It's really what it is.
Good.
And I heard you saying earlier that like the first thing for yourself was walking into a shop, seeing those covers by Kirby and whatnot, and it just stood out to you. Those still that happens to me too. I literally do buy books because of covers. I think a good portion of us do because they're just beautiful, right? But for stories, I'm finding myself leaning towards indie. Why? Because it's more of an open world. There's less restraints. It's just more creative in a different way, I guess you can say. I feel like we're getting, redundant stories with those characters from the 60s and the 70s. And it's just, that's why I find myself gravitating in a different direction. Now, if we're going to talk FOMO and everything else, people specking and buying and throwing money, that's not me. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not one to go and buy off of FOMO. I did get bits, I would say, at a certain point, right? I did get bit at a certain point, but I learned how to, pace myself, control it, and analyze, the entire market. But
right.
And that's why I'm very appreciative of shows like this, having, someone like yourself down here, just the community itself, man. I think it's awesome how everyone supports one another. And everyone's providing each other with this important information because, I mean, a regular kid walking into a shop.
Well, speaking of the community, this whole question also goes to the chat because I want to hear from everyone. What is your take on things? What keeps you with buying comics every week, every month? What brings you to these shows? Yeah. So I'd like to get feedback from everyone.
Yeah, comment away, guys.
Yeah, Brother Face, what say you?
Oh man. So yeah, I got into comics in the early 90s also. I can't remember like what my first comic that I actually got was or ever received was, but I can remember the first comic that I ever bought with my own money. And we were talking about this backstage. It was Maximum Clonage Alpha. It had an acetate cover and yeah, it was just it ended up being a god awful storyline because it dragged on for way too long. But man, when it first came out, yeah, it was the hottest thing that there was. And as a kid and seeing it on the shelf, it was the cover that drew me into it and made me want to pick it up and spend the money on it. Now that I'm older, I have a very different approach to comics. Usually for me, what it is that gets me initially, at least, to be interested in the comic is the story, the synopsis, because a lot of the comics, I'm initially coming across them before there's a whole lot of the variant covers or anything that are out there, because I'm constantly doing research on what's coming up, what's getting ready to be released and everything like that. So when I see them, a lot of the covers still aren't announced yet. So I have to go off of the synopsis. But as more information gets put out there and everything like that, of course, the covers definitely play a role into what I pick up off the shelf.
Well, one of the things I'm looking for is, since I haven't collected in about 25 years, the thought comes to mind, should I jump back in? And that's why I asked everyone, including the chat, what interests you? What brings you to the table with the new comic market? Justin from No Good, I asked him on Saturday on his show, and he suggested the Thor run from 2012. And so I don't know if you guys ever read that. What was that something you guys would know anything about? And would you agree with him?
That was Aaron's run. Aaron, I can't remember the name.
Yeah, that was
Gold.
Yeah, that was Gore the God Butcher.
Yeah, that was
Butcher.
decent.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
man, it's I really liked the run. It was a great read, and I mean, obviously there's some spec value to it because we're gonna see Gore showing up in the movies,
right?
Right. And I think that whenever there is a storyline like that that's either that good or like that epic and expansive, kind of another one that comes to mind is like Armor Wars. That was a pretty a big crossover that they had at the time. It's relatively recent, being that it's not Silver Age or whatever. You still see the MCU playing around with it, so there's definitely value there in the modern comics. It just depends, like as far as if you want to jump back into it. I guess it just depends on like what you're looking to get out of it, specifically if you do jump back in.
This is where I want to touch a base on too. But
go ahead, please. Yeah.
So I think, jumping back in now, if you've not been doing modern, for sure, the market's changed completely from when you, let's say, were from when I was collecting, even literally like 5 years ago. It's changed drastically. I think, with all these specs and flippers, and it's like the market's been flooded with scalpers. That's the reality. You know what I mean? People are just taking everything off of the shelves, and it hits secondary, and then it becomes, difficult to find these books. So if you are pulling them weekly, then great. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's a good way to go about it. But again, like Face was saying, it depends what's your intent. You know what I mean? Is it because you actually want to read the book? Is it because you want to collect them, put them away and flip them in the future? I think it's really what it comes down to. Someone like myself, like I said, I'm reading the books. If I can score, like a cool copy or a ratio, I'll go for it and whatnot. But it's a totally different ball game. I feel like it was easier for myself to walk into a store and pick up an Amazing Spider-Man. And I'll give you a perfect example, okay? Amazing Spider-Man 55 came out. It was the Gleason cover not too long ago. The first print, like pre-COVID, I wasn't doing no FOC. FOC came to life for me because of COVID. It was like, how am I going to get my comics? What's going to go on? Everybody had to improvise. A lot of the shops improvised. A lot of people struggling, right? So online shops came about, and then you can go on this website and do a poll list, and it was really cool. And at that point, it's just like the entire hobby changed for me. You know what I mean? It was like, I got to find new ways to get my books. And so I started to do more research into books and stuff like that. And I saw books going for, way more expensive the second they came out. I was watching release day. Books hit $20. So to touch base on that Amazing Spider-Man 55, I was mind blown when I walked into the shop. There was none left. Thank God I had a pull. But as someone pre-COVID who was just collecting, let's say, Spider-Man, you know what I mean? You can't walk into the shop anymore to have that experience of there's the book in the morning. It's just
right. So let me have a follow-up question along this timeline, and we continue our investigation.
Yep.
So how far back is your knowledge or interest in Copper, Bronze, Silver Age, and it's Marvel, DC, whatever? So Keys, we'll start with you. Do you have any interest or knowledge of those eras, or is that something that interests you? And again, there's no right or wrong answer. Before you answer, there was one guy I was listening to Chris from Journals, love his show. And one guy in the chat said, you know what? I don't like Silver Age stuff. It's not for me. He just loves the current stuff. He loves the art. He loves the storyline. And I responded to him. I said, "You are so lucky. You have no idea. You're saving yourself thousands of dollars. Stay where you are. If you're happy, great." So let me ask you, what is your knowledge and interest in those eras?
Ooh, okay. Newbie comic, I've definitely fought a few times in real life about
What?
this.
You fought with Newbie? No.
Oh, no. Because my knowledge of the comics from Silver or Bronze Age is very minimal. My interest is huge because, especially being introduced in this community, it's kind of opened my eyes, and I'm kind of seeing where the value really comes from, especially with like grading. And since like grading became big and everything before that, there's like a fine bookmark in the collecting here. But yeah, no, man, I can't get into the stories for some strange reason.
Not a problem. Okay.
And Newbie would kill me because he loves his early Fantastic Four. And I'm like, man, I could respect the art, but that's about it. Like, oh.
Well, Keys, let me come to your defense here. I mean, even for myself, who I grew up with Kirby and John Romita and all the rest of them, especially Kirby. Kirby was a fabulous artist, no question about it. And a lot of his talent was taken away by one of the people that did clean up. There's a proper phrase that escapes me before it goes to print. And I saw the stuff before it went to print. It was so elaborate and so incredible. But there is, based on today's current artists and artwork and techniques, the argument can be made. And again, I'm from that time era. It could look primitive. It could look kind of the way I see Golden Age stuff. The Golden Age, it was, who's the artist? Schumacher? Schomburg, who was prominent in the Golden Age Marvel stuff. It's almost not quite stick figures, but there's no definition of body, muscle, mass, whatever. So I can understand that. So it's not, again, there's no right or wrong answer here.
Yeah.
So and if you get into a fight with Newbie, call me. I'll say. All right, BC, what say you?
For myself, you know what I mean? When it comes to Bronze Age, Silver Age, all of it, it's just, I don't have a preference. Sincerely, I don't. I just have an appreciation all across the board. Yes, I get where Keys is going when he sees, let's say, Kirby art, and I guess maybe,
Art's fine.
Yeah.
The story is just,
No, for sure. But I mean, it paved the way. And I think kind of like, okay, just to put it into perspective, at that time when it came out, technically, for me, that's ahead of its time. You know what I mean? It's like when you go back and you watch the original Star Trek movies or Star Wars, like now we go back and we're like, but at the time, that was like the bomb, right? Let's be honest with ourselves. So same thing, you know what I mean? My appreciation is at 1,000,000% for everything that's come out prior. Modern books, I don't want to say they're my preference. It's just, it's currently where I'm focused because I'm reading them weekly, right? So that's where most of my focus goes. And then, something might trigger like, oh, wait, hold on. Let me go check the history on this character or whatnot because something happens, right? Yes. So that's what bridges it from modern to back then. And again, that touches base on your question because that's one thing Marvel does great. DC does great as well. They bring forth stories where you want to do history. You know what I mean? So
yeah. So Faith, I'm going to double down on your question here, not just asking what your knowledge is from bronze, copper, and silver, but since you're a DC guy and you know way more about DC than I do, that I will include the DC silver, bronze, and copper age. How far do you go, and what is your interest moving, kind of retroactively going backwards?
As far as retroactively going backwards, I mean, well, I've started trying to get into buying some EC Golden Age stuff.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, like a lot of some of the pre-code horror stuff that they did and everything like that. So, I try and get a pretty good diversity of different comics that I'm interested in. I definitely collect, silver and bronze, copper, modern, gold age stuff is obviously a lot harder, because, even for really rough copies, you're paying some pretty high prices at that point.
Oh, yeah.
but there's good stories in every age for sure. There's good art in every age, and yeah, I'm drawn to all of it. So I think I feel like I have a pretty good knowledge base for the different eras. So.
Well, let me ask you along, because the MCU is ruling everything because of their raw talent that they're putting forward. But a lot of that is based on the absolute wealth. And what you see behind you is mostly Marvel. So there are thousands of stories, scripts already written. And just with the knowledge that I have, there's all kinds of the movies that can be produced out of them. Not being up on the Silver Age DC market, are there stories that come to mind to you that DC Universe could put forward in the form of a movie?
Oh man. Shit, anything good at this point would be rewarding in itself. I think one of my favorite storylines was Crisis, when back in the original Crisis on Infinite Earths run. I was a fan of that story, but I like those type of big epic stories and everything like that. Like I was a fan of Infinity Gauntlet with Marvel, with Thanos
Right.
and everything like that. So, but they've already done that, adaptation kind of, sort of on, the Arrowverse, and I don't know that it would necessarily play out as a movie real well because it is kind of long and involved. So I feel like to make it a movie, they would kind of cut it. And I think that's one of the problems with DC. It's like the stuff that would be good for movies is probably too big and too long to make good movies for the most part. Outside of like your Batman stories, because they get pretty epic. So.
Well, one of the strong suits that Marvel had was their ability to cross over character to character, story to story, and they were so interwoven with each other. They did such a fabulous job, literally creating a universe from scratch. That look at the conversation we had on Newbie Show last night, where we have no idea what they're going to do with episode 6, and there's so many possibilities. Probably a whole bunch of things we hadn't even thought of yet. They could, and that's because of the absolute brilliance of how they wove everything together. Now, again, being completely ignorant on DC, does DC have that sort of component that they have interwoven the stories together with their characters? Okay, no, I'm just saying. Keys is sort of doing this. No, he's doing the, what was that?
DC is tough, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you need a massive event for them to actually cross over decently. Yeah. So that's why I'm like,
There's I shouldn't say it because I'll probably ruin the joke, so I'll just keep going. So, Face, it'll come to mind. I hate when I can't remember a certain name. So, Face, there's nothing that really stands out. Because, again, if you would ask me the same question, I could come up with a dozen stories right off the bat. Probably the first one, Secret Wars, which is already coming out, by the way.
Yep.
Secret Wars was Jim Shooter. And when that came out, it was a 12-issue miniseries. I was on the edge of my seat at every single month when that came out because it grabbed me so much. And I think it was underrated even to this day. Now I'm hoping they do it justice because it was a fabulous story. And it went in several different directions. So, and that's just one of many that Marvel has to present.
Well, I mean, one of the big problems with DC is, since pretty much Crisis, outside of the big events and gimmicks that they've done, you're either a fan of the character from DC or you're not. Like, I mean, they haven't really. It's hard to think of a lot of storylines, outside of the Batman title that have been huge sellers or that have drawn people in. The death of Superman, but again, that was a gimmick. It was
right.
Stuff. You know what I mean? There's a lot of Green Lantern stories, but again, you run into the problem of like Blackest Night, Brightest Day, and everything that Sinestro War that are really good. They almost seem too big for a single movie. That's actually why I'm really glad to see Green Lantern going to HBO because I mean it's got a better chance of doing it justice on that.
Well, I'm not rooting against DC. I've never rooted against DC. I'm just frustrated, like everyone else, that they have such talent, so many things to offer, but there's no talented people to produce what the MCU is producing. But they have done some things that I've really liked, which was Batman Returns, or no, Batman Begins rather. And that when I thought that was, they sort of redid that too quickly, because remember there was Batman from '89 with Michael Keaton, and then there were some movies after that. And then when Batman Begins was only a few years later, I thought it's a little too soon for a reboot. Oh, I was totally wrong. It was a fabulous movie. The same with the first Superman movie with Henry Cavill. I think Cavill's the best Superman they've had ever. And that was it. Those are difficult stories, difficult movies to produce, but you have to have the right actor and the right team. They had it in those. So they can show success, but still to this day, the best entertainment that I've seen from DC is the animated Justice League series. That was absolutely fantastic. Why don't they just expand off of that? Those are fabulous stories.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good question. And I think that's the question that pretty much everybody that's a DC fan has been asking for years is, you know, you have this, you know, right there. It's perfect. Why not use it?
This is why I've said in the chat, if you have the money and the patience, now is a great time to get DC keys. They're way underpriced compared to their Marvel counterparts. If you don't, you may be waiting for years or decades, but that patience will be rewarded, because those are way undervalued right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of room, because I do think it's only a matter of time before the right people come into DC, and they sort of, you know, I guess basically turn the ship in the right direction. You know, you just got to imagine that person, that Kevin Feige or whatever for them is out there, and eventually they'll find them. So, you know, there is definitely a reason to have hope in DC, and DC can sell movies. Like people aren't going to stop going to see Batman. If they do another, you know, they're doing another Aquaman and Shazam, they're going to sell. The Flash, I think everyone's, I don't know, you know, I've heard mixed feelings on the Flash at this point.
Well, it's funny because I remember I was kindergarten, first grade. Flash was my first love. I loved the Flash, the red uniform. The guy could go super fast. I was just taken by him, and for whatever reason, I went to Marvel. By the way, I was not in my head no at what you said, Base. I was not in my head no what Hyper had to say in the chat. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that dude Hyper.
Yeah, troublemaker. All right. So again, I just wanted to sort of look at an overview of what everyone knows, what everyone's interested in. Because I know what I know and what I like, and again, this is why I'm saying it's still silver, bronze, and copper right now as far as the powerhouse storyline, because the MCU is that entity that's putting those on the big screen, and they've got everyone's attention, and they've absolutely accelerated this market. And since the next subject would be CGC and the slab market too, the company Blackstone that bought CGC, they're getting a lot of criticism. Well, some criticism. But that isn't the biggest indicator of how healthy this market is for everyone across the board, all the way from golden age to today.
Yeah,
Blackstone wouldn't put over almost $500 million or over $500 million in that company if they didn't think they'd get money back.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, they're definitely going into that to make money. So,
are you guys big on CGC and slabbing, or do you like Rock Comics, or is there another entity that you guys like getting into? Go ahead, Keith.
Preferably for myself, it's Raw. I prefer Raw. I will send them in for grading. Right now, I'll be honest with you, the turnaround times, everyone's aware. CGC is difficult, especially living here in Canada. So, I mean, I submitted back in March. I still didn't get them back. So
now, before getting into these comic commentary shows, I had no idea how big the comic market was in Canada.
Yeah.
With this new money that they have, my suggestion would be CGC has a Midwest, a West Coast, and a Canadian branch, maybe 2 Canadian
100%.
branches. That would accelerate things tremendously. But that's a bit of a tall order, getting people that are qualified that we trust with our comics. Because again, some of us have an awful lot of money invested in these things. Sending them to someone who has no idea how to grade this doesn't give me give me a feeling of confidence. Keith, how about you? How's your what's slab or raw? What say you?
I like my slabs like I like my sleeves, non-existent. I like my raw comics. Yeah, I honestly I only have a few slabs. I have a few books that I want to send, but as he said, the turnaround time is a little iffy. And when I do send them, Bleecker Street Comics is my presser. So shout out to Bleecker Street. But no, I like the look of Raw, the feel of Raw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Face?
I have both in my collection. I definitely tend to, look for Raws more usually. There's certain things like, I guess there's certain things that I will try and look for slabs for, but generally that's probably like your more Silver Age, Golden Age type stuff. Which really makes no sense. It's kind of ass backwards because those are obviously going to be way more expensive. But at that point, like the condition and the grade and the protection of the book becomes a real priority. So, having it slabbed while it's being shipped is definitely nice on those silver and Golden Age books. And it's worth the premium for me. So, but as far as like moderns and stuff like that, usually I go after Raw books.
Well, I asked because the other thing I did want to make a comment on, and it's this. I don't know if you guys ever go to comicbook.com.
Yeah,
how popular is that? Well, one guy wrote an article about Blackstone, and it was very negative and very political. He was basically saying that they are kind of a hedge fund, and they were led to the downfall of the housing crisis when that all collapsed in 2007, 8, and 9. And the thing is, I'm not a big fan of having politics in your comic books or anything else.
Yeah.
And so he's looking at this totally wrong. The way to look at any company is you're in business to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to make $30,000 a year, that's fine. If you're happy doing that. If you want to make $300 billion a year, that's fine too. That's no one business but yours if you want to do that. The purpose of having money is twofold. And I'm on my soapbox for just a moment here. Money is the equation of your work, but it's also freedom and power. The more money you have, the more freedom and power you have. So that's why when people ask someone who has a couple $1 billion, well, isn't that enough? And the answer is no, because someone who has $1 million of free money, or of money to do whatever you want, that'll only go so long. If you have $1 billion, you have a lot more freedom, a lot more leeway than someone who has $1 million. And if you have $100 billion, now you can start to change the society. So that's the motivation for why people want to go as far as they can. So if a company like Blackstone wants to invest and they see an opportunity, there's nothing wrong with that. So I say that because someone has to come to their defense. They didn't do anything wrong. They did not bring the housing market down. They're not poisoning or soiling the CGC slab market. They're doing what a company should do: invest when it's the right time. You buy low and you sell high. Again, I just wanted to come to their defense because they didn't do anything wrong. It offended me when I read that article.
But Dan, let's be honest with ourselves. Most people, that's what they do in the comic market. They buy those copies low, they'll slab them, and they sell high. That's exactly what it is, right?
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with
sure.
it. As long as there's someone who's willing to buy that, that's called the free market, and that's totally fine.
But if someone who is doing that, example like with slabs, and then they're bashing, well, then it's kind of hypocritical. We'll call it what it is.
Right, and if you do something illegal or something stupid, you go the way of PGX. PGX did something incredibly stupid, and now we in the comic market want nothing to do with them.
Yeah, very true.
I think I don't know. I really couldn't care less too much who's buying into them, because essentially, unless it's somebody that is like really known in the particular industry, like if it were, I don't know, if there were somebody that was in the comic book industry, like let's say hypothetically Spine-Tix was buying CGC.
Yeah.
Now that has a different effect than basically anybody else buying into it.
We would just flood it to Sith.
And here's the thing, because I know what Spine-Tix is. I know that they have an interest in comics and everything like that. So I'm going to expect them, when they take over, to use that knowledge that they have and everything like that to hopefully improve the product, for their target audience. Any other company, they want to see profit.
Okay, if
You know,
if Spinetics bought CGC, Sith Lordly would be rising this quickly in the comic world, or we'd be bowing down to
Right?
him. But no,
Oh, for sure.
you're right. He would do a fantastic job because he's in the comic market. He knows what he wants. This money that was given, well, not given, it was invested in CGC is an opportunity.
Yep.
Now, what they do with this
Right.
opportunity is up to them. That's up to them to find qualified people to work for them, which can be done.
Sure.
Yeah.
Find better locations for quick turnaround. That's also up to them. Where do they go? So we'll see what they do.
And
But those investors, of course, will expect to see a return on their money,
Yes.
and that's going to
Yes, they will.
That's what's
Absolutely.
going to be the big telling factor on how it all goes. If
Yeah.
they see a good return, then they won't necessarily be afraid to invest more money and develop more growth and everything like that.
Yeah.
But if they don't see that return, that's when it's going to cause problems for CGC and then ultimately us. So
Agreed.
And just look at the influx during COVID. Like when COVID hit, everybody was sending their books to CGC,
Right,
in-house signings. It's just they got wild.
Yeah.
But see, this is a comment I want to point out. Comic Ozzy, dead on. So we should be happy that the market is strong enough to have this acquisition happen, and it's true.
Yes.
oh yeah, for sure.
The hobby for myself, like I said, I've been collecting for X amount of years. I think right now it's at its peak. It really is. I've seen it, throughout the years, and right now I'm seeing people who never even cared about comics care about comics. You know what I mean? It's awesome. It's a great time to be in this hobby. There's definitely pros.
Now,
and
I
cons.
don't. So let me ask you: would you go to, let's say, CBCS or EGS or another outfit?
I would go to CBCS 100%.
CBCS.
Okay,
I would.
Okay.
Beckett just bought it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Keys, are you totally opposed to any slabs, or you prefer Raws?
I prefer Raw. I mean, putting the money out to get them slabbed is kind of like I could buy more books with that. It's not necessarily like a.
Yes.
It's not as.
He's right.
I don't
He's right.
need
That's
it
true.
right now.
That's
you know what I'm
true.
saying?
I've thought about that. But I like Sith
Yeah.
Lordly's. I was on his show not that long ago, and I'm with him where he let someone else do all the heavy lifting. Someone else sent them to CGC,
Yeah.
then they put them up for auction, whatever, and you buy them, and that way you didn't have to go through the months long hassle of worrying if your books are going to survive and come back okay.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
So
true.
there is that. But yeah, CBCS is certainly on the list. And this company I've Chris from Journos profiled it, called EGS. I like their slabs, and I like him. The guy is Tony Turbata. I think he's a stand-up guy. The point is, I want to have more than just one company. It's never
Yes,
good to
that
have
would be
just one
great.
company to rely on
Oh.
anything.
Oh,
You
for
want to
sure.
have diversity.
For sure. And then I'll be honest with you, I think if I'll guesstimate here, but to submit a book to get slabbed from here to CGC is about $50 Canadian, whereas CBCS is about half of that. You know what
we
I
have
mean?
one here apparently.
That's
or,
just another thing to factor.
And I saw their new slabs for CBCS. They're dynamite. They're
Yeah, they're
really,
beautiful.
really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
if they're solid, they're just, again, I would show them on screen, but it wouldn't do it justice. You have to see it in person.
But then I feel like the CGC CBCS conversation is basically, do you prefer Adidas or do you prefer Nike? You know what I mean? It's really what it comes down to, because realistically, we're getting our books graded. I think both do a stellar job at grading. Well, a good job at grading, stellar. But you get where I'm going with this is what for someone like myself, where it's costing $50 to submit to CGC, but CBCS it's costing me half. But yet I'm willing to go to CGC. You want to know why? Because the resale value on CGC is higher. That's all it is.
For now.
Yeah,
For
if
now.
you're turning those around, that's the best value for you to go to
Exactly.
CGC.
For sure.
However, if you're just a collector like me and you can care less about resale or anything else, you can score some great books with CBCS
100%.
because they're way cheaper than their counterparts.
Yeah, but those, I think, you see, it really comes down to, what's your purpose behind it? Because if you're gonna just grade it for your PC, hey, CBCS is a great option. I think they're fantastic, and in fact, I think they're gonna give CGC a run for their money very soon.
Let me answer Michelle's
This
question
is
from Moonlit Comics, if I may.
Yep.
That
Thank you.
I don't know if CGC is going to go down that road. I called them a couple years ago for a few reasons. One, are they going to expand? They said no. too about the Signature series, which I think was the biggest short-sightedness I've ever seen in my life. Because think about it, a qualified person that verifies signatures, a handwriting expert, is admissible in a court of law. So
Yes.
if it's admissible for our Justice Department, why would you not have that for your comic books? CGC didn't think that far ahead. They went too high in having too high of a standards, and CBCS has got the jump on them. But to answer Michelle's question, I'm going to say no. I don't think they're going to do that, and that's a mistake on their part. They're eliminating a big component that CBCS is dominating, which is the previous uncertified signature series.
I think the reason that they probably won't do that is because they're becoming heavily reliant on the signature series as a source of profit.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, you just the number of signings that we have seen shit over the last year. The increase has been.
I know all of you have got those emails from CGC saying we got so and so signing on this day, so and so the next day.
Yeah, it's insane.
I'm still waiting for my books.
and that's one of the biggest problems is it's causing people to have to wait for months and months and months.
Yeah.
And people are not happy about that, so it is what it is.
And hold on, that's another thing. That's another thing to factor in for people who are flipping, right? So people who are sending it in to flip, the book spikes today, maybe dips tomorrow.
Yeah.
So with a 4-month wait time,
for sure,
right.
That's definitely going to affect it.
Yeah.
Well, the one cool thing about the slab market or slabs themselves, is that as someone who loves comics, especially the older Silver Age, they do a great job in preserving the book. So it'll sit there, and it's the best protection you can possibly ask for, as long as you don't leave it in the sun or extreme heat.
Exactly.
But the downside is you can't read it. You can't open it up. So if here's a slab here, it's stuck in here. I can't get it out without breaking the seal, and I'm not going to. Yeah, it's protected, but I can never open the pages, and that kills me to not be able to read it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks to me is, not being able to read it. Because it sucks because when, especially for some of these older books and everything like that, because you want to read the story, I would imagine, if you're buying a comic and everything, but man, it's so hard to validate, I guess, buying it in a slab when you can't open the damn thing. What I mean?
Well, see, I have a rule though. For every slab that I buy a raw copy so I can read it. And usually it's a lower grade, so I'm not as worried about handling it and so forth. But there's nothing like having the raw copy, especially from the Silver Age. You open it up and you can see the original art, even the letters to the editor and all that, what the kids were talking about in the '60s and all that, and the goofy little advertisements they had at the time. There were all kinds of fun things that they had. And by the way, I'm stunned to this day that no one cut those out, because there were advertisements throughout this, the Silver and Bronze Age, and a lot of them were kind of like had not perforated little dots, like you were supposed to cut them out. They never did. So the only thing they cut out was the stupid Marvel stamps. That was a dumb idea.
That's so weird.
Yeah, that was just dumb. So guys, I want to get your guys' take on the MCU itself, since that's the
sure.
That's what everyone's talking about now, and that's really accelerated this market. And let me give you my take on the last 3 that was streamed, because the theaters are about to open up, and I'm wondering, by the way, since we're sort of used to having stuff streamed, you can watch it in the comfort of your home. Is that going to hurt? What do you call it? Simply going to the movies, getting popcorn, and going to the theater. I'm wondering if it will. It probably will have some impact. With WandaVision, there's a theme that I see with all 3, with WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldier, and now Loki. They were all love stories. That's one thing people don't think about. WandaVision was certainly a love story. This woman was heartbroken in the form of Wanda for losing the Vision, which is, by the way, another strong suit of Marvel. They create characters that are just like us and have the same heartaches that we have and same flaws. These are flawed people. So that was out of the box thinking, absolutely wonderful. And then Falcon Winter Soldier was not a love story. It was what did I say on Spine Ticks? It wasn't a
bromance.
It was not a romance. It was a bromance. That's right. And that was fun to see. Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, they played off each other very, very well. And of
Yeah.
course, Zemo made that whole show. That
Oh,
Zemo was the best, man.
Be
And,
honest with me, Dan.
Yeah.
Is that Zemo dance your new move now when you're gonna go clubbing?
Yeah.
There you go.
Those-
There you go.
Okay,
been my-
he
that's been-
stole my
that's been
moves.
my
He
move
stole
for
my
life.
moves. Okay, yeah, that's right. I'll do the Zemo. All right. Now here with Loki, and this is what I watch another show on. I watch a bunch of YouTube shows. One of them is Everything Always, and they do recaps,
Mhm.
and it's a great show, by the way.
Yeah.
The one thing I see with Loki is it's also romance in a weird sense, where people were kind of weirded out with episode 4 when he's kind of falling in love with his female self. People didn't get it. It looked kind of weird, kind of creepy, almost like you're loving your sister kind of thing. So if that's what you saw, then I get why you're creeped out, but that's not what happened. What I saw was this.
I don't know. It seemed more like masturbation to me, but whatever.
Yeah.
What I saw with Loki was that we all know the Loki character.
Yeah.
He was troubled from birth, all right, and he's been misunderstood, and vice versa. And he's, instead of trying to have understanding with his father, with his brother, with everyone in his life, he goes down this very dark path. And that they did the same thing in the MCU, where he went down so far he's ready to destroy New York City. When he's taken out by the TVA, he's literally taken out of time, and he's forced to look at himself objectively for the first time ever. And then he runs into Sylvie, a female version of himself. And as the without spoiling everything, as he deals with Sylvie and her struggles, he finds that he can love himself for the first time. That's what I took away from it. It's a very deep thought.
See?
And so this is the most deeply interwoven story that the MCU has put forward so far.
Yep.
And to me, it was a very deep meaning for me, because a lot of us have depression or self-loathing, and we go down a wrong path, and then you have to forgive yourself and then love yourself. And that's what I'm seeing. This is brilliantly written from the Loki show. Now, as far as my predictions for episode 6, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, because again, there's so many different directions it can go into. But one thing or two things I will almost guarantee: one, there's going to be heartache. There's going to be some brokenheartedness with the two of them, Sylvie and Loki, separated, or one dies. Who knows? And because think about the Marvel history. Submariner, his Dorma died. Hulk, Jarella dies. In the Captain America movie, he's separated from Agent Carter, and we're heartbroken at the end of that. So that's probably what's going to happen, and it'll probably end on a deep meaning. Let's say it is an evil Loki, for example. That'll be a deeper meaning that will be revealed itself by the end, and we'll be thinking about it for weeks afterwards. But those are my two predictions that I think we can kind of guarantee going into episode 6.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think, given the history of Marvel shows and what they've given us so far, we've all gone into every one of these shows looking for this ultimate big bad to, show up with, Mephisto, or who was behind the power broker. And we touched on this last night on Newbie Show and everything like that. And it just seems like the direction this show has been going, with him coming to terms with himself and who he is, and a sort of like I guess even kind of like a duality of his own nature and everything like that. It feels to me like it would be really. It feels to me like the big bad, because they've also, another thing that they've been relying upon is this superior Loki thing that they've kept bringing up. They've mentioned it in numerous episodes about superior Loki. So I could totally see a version of Loki being the ultimate big bad on the show. I think for me, though, a lot of people want it to be the version of Loki that died at Thanos' hand in Endgame. I absolutely do not want it to be that version of Loki, because I feel like that kind of invalidates the whole redemption aspect.
Well, in a way, he's sort of becoming superior Loki because he's growing as a person. Another thing that Marvel does very well with storytelling. And you notice throughout the entire series, when he's alone and he sees Asgard destroyed, he gets teary-eyed. when he sees he's there alone watching at the very first episode that he's rewinding that machine that Mobius has, and he sees his father tells him he loves his sons,
Yeah.
and Loki, and Thor is saying, you know, he how I forget what he said, how special he was or something. Loki gets choked up and he gets teary-eyed, and he's one of those people where in private he'll show his emotions, but in public in front of everyone he's the best at hiding his emotions. But this will be if he survives this whole thing, this will be a wonderful character that I hope they keep around for a long time. Now, BC, and Keys, what are your guys' take? Before you answer, BC, you have seen Black Widow.
Yes.
Without giving away anything, is there a romance component to it?
Yeah.
Okay. Then say no more.
Oh,
Say no more.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, but I see it.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
Just to touch base though, what you were just saying on Loki and his character, let's say the growth that he's just gone through. It's crazy because I remember watching Endgame, and when he like picks up the Tesseract and he disappears, right? I'm like,
Yeah, right.
Oh my God, here we go. We have the a-hole Loki back, and we just fell in love with Loki. We just got used to, like, you know, he grew for it throughout all of Ragnarok, and it was like, you know, that big piece of Loki gone. So when you watch him come into episode 1 here and you see he's learning, and then like you said, that entire scene where he goes back to Asgard and he sees it, and just in these, you know, 4 episodes, he grew so much, you know what I mean? And it's like we got back the Loki we fell in love with.
Yeah.
So when you tell me there's heartache, I pray to God we're not going to get him stolen from us again. But I don't know, man. There's a lot we can spec on going into the next episode. There's tons of possibilities. And I don't want to give up too much either, right? Because, well, I mean, what? It's over a week now, guys. If you haven't watched it, too bad. But Newbie and I were speaking last night, who we think could be a big bad, and I think you caught that as well, Dan. We were looking at Living Tribunal. We were looking at Immortus being a possible big bad. But I do agree. Face was mentioning as well. I do think it's probably going to be like a King Loki or an old man Loki or just a superior Loki. I would love it if this Loki becomes that superior Loki. You know what I mean? Like, but
yeah, I mean, I think that's they're setting it up. He's gonna have to beat himself.
Yeah,
that would make sense. Keys, what do you say?
So I just want to start off. I really like your whole theme of love. I absolutely love that. I went totally different when watching these things, and I went into the stages of grief. So we were on polar opposites here. Like Wanda would have been like the denial and shock phase.
Yes.
Falcon would have been like the upward turn phase because each character's trying to better themselves. Like he's trying to, and then Loki would have been the acceptance and hope phase, which we saw through the show, him accepting himself. So without getting into the big bad, I always thought that this show was just going to end with Loki, like the most anticlimactic ending after the big bad is revealed, and Loki just going back, and then the audience is kind of like, well, he already accepted, and we as the audience are just hoping he learns and changes and somehow goes back into the timeline and may survive. Something may just change. That was right.
Yeah, but see, that's the beauty of the interwovenness. There's several stories going on at once. The personal story, the action, the direction, and all the little fun things, you know, in between. And again, Marvel has so much to draw from. And look at, again, referring back to Everything Always, as they picked apart all the Easter eggs. The most fun that we're all talking about is the frog Thor in the little bar. Because I remember when that came out, it was a fun story. It was Loki playing a joke. But that's, you can make a movie, but make an episode about that all by itself, because that was just so fun.
But apparently there was footage that was cut of I think Throg basically beating up Loki. They completely cut it out. So I hope they release it. I know there's like a trend going, like they release the Loki cut or something like that, or Throg cut. But I would love to see that. I hope they actually do leak that.
We're seeing Frog Thor and everything, and no one was coming down the line. I had to, make a comment on a Marvel thread today. that if Loki Gator is not the big bad in the Pet Avengers, I just have to be done with Marvel Studios. Period. Yeah, I mean it's too perfect. So
It is.
Right.
Yeah,
And
he's
I'm with Michelle, by the way. Miss Minutes is an underrated character, and
So
she's
good.
fun. She's a
So
fun character to
For
be,
sure.
and I want to see more of her. So
Agreed.
we'll see what they say. And I'm assuming they're going to have a follow up to this, because I bet you anything, this by far of the three of them, WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier, this is their most popular.
Oh yeah.
I would think so. Yeah.
They'll bring it back.
Yeah, I think there's already. I don't know if there's been any formal like actual announcement like set in stone, but I believe they've pretty much confirmed we are getting a season 2 of Loki at some point.
Good. I'll be front and center. With that. Love it.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Agent of
how you-
Asgard, maybe.
So how are you guys doing on time? You want to go to specs now?
Yeah, we can jump into that if you want.
Okay, sure. Because I know you guys have New Comic Day and all that. You want to talk about that, which I can stick around to about 6 if you guys are okay. I don't know what time you end this.
That's usually about where we run the show till. On your time, I think so.
Okay.
What is 6?
6
9.
my time. I'm sorry. I'm on
Also, it's
Pacific
not
Coast.
okay. All right.
Right. Sorry. I should. Sorry. I'm in
Yeah.
the TVA. They took me
Yeah.
away. Mobius is backstage. So
Yeah, I'm
All
game.
right, so we can bring up the specs. So, is there any particular book that you wanted to start with, Dan?
yeah, let's start with Thor 384, please.
Feed me the knowledge, buddy. Feed me the knowledge.
Give me 1 second here. Let me get them.
Sure, no worries here. And this is when Face brings it up here. This is actually the third time I've brought this up, and there's a reason for it. The more I look into this particular book, there's way more behind it. It's literally an unknown spec. I did some more research before going on Spine Ticks, and I looked up the who has lifted the hammer of Thor, and I meant to look it up or who's done this the right way, not who tricked the hammer by magic or by outer space or whatever. Who you pick up the hammer, the hammer deems you worthy, and you are granted the power of Thor. There's only 3 people that have done it. This is one of them here. Can you blow this up, or is that?
Yeah, I'm actually getting ready to.
I'll give you the 3.
Yeah.
Key issues, and key issues.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got
There we
the
go.
guns for it.
Oh no.
So who was the first one? Oh, Beta Ray Bill was the very first one. We all remember that. Thor 337. That was a big deal when it came out. Next, it was after this. It was Thor 390, where Captain America lifts it because he's a man who's pure of heart and so forth. When you look on Google or try to even Wikipedia, this book isn't listed, and I have no idea why. And so I'm trying to get the word out. I'm sort of on a one-man campaign to let people know this is a big deal. This has only happened 3 times, and I guess you could probably include Thunderstrike would be the other one. But if I remember the Thunderstrike story, that was a little bit different because that had Odin's help. He didn't do it by himself.
Right.
But this is a huge deal. This is incredibly affordable. You can find this for about $5 for a high-grade copy. And if I'm right about this would be a book that at some point will at least quadruple in value, if not more, because again, that's not a small thing to pick up the hammer of Thor the right way. Dargo Couture is his name, and he certainly did it. Love the story. I would get your hands on it.
Good call.
Man.
Do you guys have this?
No.
I might. I'm gonna have to check that one.
I'm quite biased to the Thor. I just recently started liking Thor.
Okay.
This is
Yeah,
is
I'm
it
actually
Ron
not sure if I
Perez
have
that
it.
drew this? Yeah, but I would again for $5, even $10 or a little bit more. It's worth getting. Absolutely worth getting. You can't go wrong with it. In fact, I looked at CGC. I have one of the 11 9.8s right here of this book.
Wow.
I got this for only $200. I couldn't pass it up.
Crazy.
Yeah,
And there's only 11.
currently. But
Jeez.
if this starts to accelerate, this is one of these books that will be sent to CGC in short order.
Yeah.
And once it does, and word gets out, I think this book will accelerate in price.
So basically, what you're saying is, after these episodes that you're going to be campaigning on, we're going to expect to see 11 go to 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should get some royalties from Ron Perez who drew it and everyone else.
I agree.
I'm not expecting anything, but
Right.
Yeah, but for your collection, yeah, this is a really cheap spec. And even if it doesn't, you can say in your collection, let's say you're on a collector on a budget like most people, you can say you have one of the characters that lifted the hammer of Thor.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good buy. It's honestly something I would have never even thought of.
Yeah, and you can get it pretty cheap, so
Absolutely.
That's always a bonus.
Okay, what's our next one?
All right. Well, which one do you want to go to next, Dan?
Oh, let's see. I had it in order. I tried to be organized today. Hold on. Let me look at my phone because I sent this to you through IG, and I sent it in a particular order. Let's see.
Okay, I got your next one, I think.
What did I do with them? Oh, that's not it.
This should be it right here.
Let me see. Oh yeah, okay. Ultimate Fallout?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, we all know Ultimate Fallout.
That's a pretty recognizable cover.
Yeah, we all know what this is all about here. Now, this is the only every book I've profiled so far as I've been on these shows I own. This is one I don't own yet. But the more I research this, because this came out 10 years ago in 2011.
Yep.
I'm pretty convinced Miles Morales is the future of Spider-Man. He's not going anywhere, and they're going to be expanding on this character. Now, again, having not read what they've done with Peter Parker, if anything, of late, I think they'll probably keep both characters, but Morales is for real. Morales is not – he's not a character they're going to put to the wayside. He's going to be a mainstay character. But I think that's why they put 3 other pillars behind him on this cover, Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America. Yeah. So this is still the numbers on this book has gone down. This is a great time to get it. This is absolutely on my list. But then again, I ask myself, because I'm on a budget, do I spend the going rate for a 9.8 is like $2,500? Yeah, you can't go wrong if you had that kind of money, and that's fine. I'm probably shooting for something like an 8.5 white pages. Those are extremely affordable. Those are roughly, let's say, $500 or $600. That's affordable. But I'm trying to imagine this like where Hulk 181 was about 15, 20 years ago. It was pretty affordable. You can get if you had an 8.5 Hulk 181, what's that worth today? That's kind of where I'm thinking this is going to go in about 10 to 15 years at least.
You think Ultimate Fallout 4 reaches those numbers?
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll take time. It won't happen tomorrow, but it will. This is a long-term spec. So again, we're talking 15, 20 years down the road. But how I was able to put my collection together was patience. I bought for decades, and some didn't do anything. Now I'm reaping the rewards. I mean, for example, Defenders 17 and 18, the first Wrecking Crew. I have a couple of near 9.8 copies, raw copies, but I stored them for decades. But now they're finally coming into their own. And Kamikaze has a great point here. The second print is excellent too because it reveals his face. That's also worth getting your hands on. But always go for the first print. So I would consider, if you don't have one, I start looking into getting it as soon as you can. Yep.
I will say that there was a recent boom on the Ultimate Fallouts. They just started skyrocketing recently. And that's when it hit, I think, the 2,500 mark. Because I feel like last year you could have got it for maybe half, right?
Yeah.
So I agree. It's going to continue to go up. Marvel's got it as their main focus with the whole Spider-Verse movie that came out, last year or a few years ago, sorry.
Right.
The video game, they're putting him at the forefront. So definitely down the line.
Do any of you gentlemen have this?
I actually have the Pacelli variant because I am too broke to get one.
Welcome to our world. Yes.
Yep.
Keys, do you have this?
No, it's a little far for me.
Okay.
Maybe one day.
Okay.
Yeah, I got lucky. Grabbed a few copies of it right before it blew up. Really
nice.
With them, so yeah.
You got face for your first print?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they raw or flat?
I got the second print too.
Okay, very cool. Okay, definitely on the list.
Yeah, it's definitely a good book to have. Miles is a huge character, and don't foresee him going anywhere at this point.
No,
I don't.
He's a mainstay.
You might see some small dips in the price of this, but it's probably nothing super significant as far as dips that it'll take in the future. So
I ironically, he's currently going through his own clone saga, kind of
Right.
like.
I was going to ask you,
Much
how
better than the first one.
Since you guys all collect new comics, how prominent is he today in the new comics?
Oh, he's there.
Yeah.
He is
Okay.
Forefront.
Yeah, definitely. He's one of the faces of the younger generation for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're working on him. They're working on Silk. They're working on Gwen Stacy as Spider Gwen.
Okay.
That's pretty much like the click,
Okay.
and they're putting a lot of focus on that. So
Yeah.
I'm just reading what Chris is saying here.
Yeah, there's you know, you can't really go wrong with this book. I mean, even the Second Prince, you know, they don't get enough love for sure.
Yeah, I agree with Chris here, Chris Padita. Yeah, but they shouldn't be ignored though.
nope,
Oh no,
You know,
definitely not.
so
100%.
well, the Second Prince shouldn't be ignored, but also the lower grades, which is why I mentioned the 8.5. See, one of the ways I built my collection is that 9.8 I just showed you. That's one of only 4 or 5 I have in my entire collection. If there's a pretty 8.0 of anything, and if it's affordable, I'll take it. And
For
that
sure.
way I can say it's in my collection. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
I don't have to impress anyone. And again, I'm not necessarily reselling. It's rare that I buy a 9.8. So if you don't mind having a lower grade, even if I've seen some gorgeous 7.0 white pages, whatever, I grab them up because they're affordable.
My theory is anything 7 and up, you're good. You're
Yes,
golden.
agreed.
But
Nothing wrong with that.
But I'm
except-
also, like I said, I'm a cheap guy. Like I won't go out there and spend money on a slab. If I own a raw, I'll submit it, and then whatever I get, I get. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, and this is another good point. You know, like once UF4 is finally completely out of reach, people probably will turn their attention to, you know, that first solo series and everything like that. So those are always good pickups too, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Agreed. Absolutely true.
Since we're on the topic, Gwen Stacy's book, also The Edge of Spider-Verse number
That's another
2,
good one.
that cracked over $2,000 now, 9.8.
Wow.
So yeah,
See, that's what I'm really happy to hear, that there are people willing to pay big money for the new books.
Yep.
And that's good news for you guys, because you're into the new comics. There's a market for it. Anytime you have people willing to pay and money is transacting, you guys are in good shape. Because when you get to a point where I lived through in the 90s, that was not a good time to be a collector, because no one was buying them. They were the books weren't worth the paper they were printed on.
but that's like we just said earlier about even stocks. You buy on the dip.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
the 90s must have been glorious for you in the long haul.
No, well, again, I walked away. Well, no, because I stopped. I literally stopped collecting. It was tough for me because I was so loyal to Marvel. I bought as much as I could, almost every title that I could get my hands on, and I was loyal about it because I loved the stories. And it was the lack of quality of story that stopped me.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I deserved a Marvel no prize. I was so loyal. I never got a no prize, by the way. What a great idea, by the way. You know what that no prize is? It was a simple envelope with a stamp on it, and it said, "This is your Marvel no prize," and it cost what, 35 cents with postage, and that became the most sought after prize in all of Marvel by the time it was all said and done. Only someone as brilliant as Stan Lee could come up with an idea to make a simple envelope worth thousands of dollars.
Right. That's actually pretty
Incredible.
cool.
I'd love to have one. They're on for sale on eBay if you got a couple grand. It'd be worth it to you guys.
Yeah.
Might be worth the investment. Who knows?
Okay, what's our next one, Brother Face?
All right, so we have the 2 Iron Man, and I'm pretty sure you just want to go in order on those, correct?
Do you want to do them side by side, or can you do that, or do you want to just? Does it matter to you?
I don't know if I can do that.
If not a big deal. Let's just go to 170 first.
170 first? Okay.
Please, yes, please.
There we go.
Okay, now I expect this
Hey, who is that guy?
This is James Rhodes, and for those who didn't know. I'm looking up I've got my Overstreet
You
price
just
guide
broke
here.
Newbie's heart.
Yeah, well, newbie will like this, by the way. Oh, hold on. I went to public school, so I'm having to look through this alphabetically. It might take a minute. Here it is. The reason why I bring this up is that, as I said on Spine Ticks, at the end of Falcon Winter Soldier, when the Falcon character was given the Iron Man, the Captain America role. The
Right.
MCU made a very powerful statement. It said that there has to be main pillars of characters. In other words, there has to be an Iron Man. There has to be a Captain America. There has to be a Thor. There has to be a Spider-Man. And if they're killed or removed or retire or whatever, they will be replaced by what would be either the next best thing or the next person in line. In this case, they chose the Falcon character. Now that Iron Man is no longer in the MCU thanks to Endgame, there has to be an Iron Man. Now there's talk that there's going to be an artificial intelligence Iron Man. I don't know if that's going to work. My thought would be the logical choice would be James Rhodes, because this takes place issue 169, which you'll see in a second, and 70. This is mid 80s, I think it was, or early 80s. This is another episode where Stark has drinking problems. He loses it. He hits bottom, and Rhodes takes over because he has to. He'd never donned the armor on before. He does in the comics because there was no War Machine. This led to War Machine. Yeah, right. But this is still a very undervalued book. If they name Rhodes the new Iron Man, and I think they will, this is a book that will absolutely skyrocket.
Yeah, it's definitely a good book to pick up. But just to, I don't want to kill any spec. I don't know if you guys saw what the Shang-Chi toys look like right now. They released the line. There's the Iron Man AI. So I don't know if that's the route they go. I don't know if that's just a toy they threw out there as a swerve.
Well, they can actually do both if they really wanted to. But
yes, I think they will do both. I mean, there's going to be, because I'm assuming it'll be the voice of Robert Downey Jr., which is fine.
Yep.
Which people would appreciate. But there has to be a physical Iron Man, someone who actually is human under that armor. And again, Rhodes took that up in this issue, and he did a fine Iron Man. In fact, he was in the Secret Wars when that came out. It wasn't Tony Stark, it was James Rhodes as the Iron Man in Secret Wars, which Secret Wars is on its way. So again, you can get the CGCs at a reasonable price at this point while you can get them. Your best bet probably is to get a nice raw copy and get that graded, but I wouldn't sleep on this one.
I agree, Dan. Just thinking about it,
and that's a dope cover.
Jarvis is gone Friday. You know what I mean? So Robert Downey Jr. being the voice for Rhodes, that would be awesome.
Now to dovetail, Face, can we go to the next one, please? 169.
Sure can.
And the reason why I bring this up, as soon as Face gets it up here, is,
Tony don't look so good.
Yeah, no, it doesn't look good at all. But this is still the 50th anniversary of the Overstreet Price Guide.
Yep.
This still has tremendous value because there's so much content in here. Again, they've been doing this for half a century. Now, even though they're not modern and they need to, that's something they personally have to deal with. Looking this up in the Overstreet, this book is about, where is it here? I think it was twice as expensive. No, almost 3 times as expensive as 170. For whatever and CGC recognizes this as the first appearance of James Rhodes doing it, not in cameo. They don't use the word cameo. They just said this is when it switches over, when Rhodes becomes Iron Man in this issue. Right. This is on no one's radar, and this is my big surprise today. No one's looking at this. No one is aware how expensive this book could be. Now, let's say I'm right, and Rhodes does take over. Both these books, especially 169, is probably your better value to get your hands on because no one's looking at this.
Man. Well, and it makes sense too for a series like Armor Wars that someone would take over the role of Iron Man,
And it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. So like Pacino said in the comments, it absolutely makes sense. Someone will take over at least until we get rid of it, if nothing else.
Well, the reason why I suggest Rhodes is because the Rhodes character knows the armor. He knows Tony Stark. He knows how this all works. Rather than train someone totally brand new, why not bring in someone with experience? And Rhodes is the perfect fit for that.
100%. The only issue I have with this right now is that Pacino's a local, so now I know we're both going to be hunting the same book.
Little competition.
But yeah.
Well, BC, if you want to go out now so you can run your LCS, we'll wait for you when you come back.
Yeah, I'll be back.
No, but I think there's a plentiful. I think that will disappear. Like any hot book, once it catches fire.
Yeah.
And let's go. Face it. Do you get the next picture I sent you? It was the last minute one from. I sent it on your This is the group text I sent. This is on your personal. I didn't I send that?
One,
The one from
BC. Can one of you guys? I think
it was from. Damn it! Where was that?
Oh, it was in my. Was it direct? Was it just to me, or was it in the group?
I'm looking for it here, and I thought I'd sent it. It was. Oh yeah, I did send it to the group, and it was a picture of Russ Bright from Comic Tom. This is to add to the
that picture. I do not have.
Okay. And could, BC or Keys, can you pull it up because it's on our group chat on IG?
Yeah, I'll throw one of you guys on the screen there if you can.
If you guys could do it.
I'm trying to find it. Hold on.
I sent it
Gotta be BC.
yesterday at 5:30 my time.
And this is on which chat? Because
this is on our. This is on our. Oh, Keys, you would have it. BC, you weren't in this link. I didn't link you at this point. It was just Keys' face.
I'm just gonna leave.
Because BC, I heard you're at your LCS looking for other books.
Yeah, I'll be back. I'll be right back.
No, this is awkward. I actually use my phone to record.
Okay.
So it's on my phone, but I'm using it to record, so I can't grab it.
Oh, okay. I'll just describe it, or just look at Comic Tom's latest, and it basically it's they and I didn't have time to re-watch it again. They report that Rhodes is taking over the Iron Man character, and there's a few pictures. It says Armor Wars. There's James Rhodes there, and there's Iron Man. I can't make out what. Oh, it's issue. Was it 275? It's the beginning of the Armor Wars.
Right.
And so this is further evidence that issues 169 to 170 will come into play because the Armor Wars starts somewhere. I mean, the wars didn't start there, but Tony Stark's losing of that started there, and Rhodes becomes a main component to that. So again, this is all adding up to those two issues, 169 and 170, absolutely moving in value. And it's one of those ones that even if it doesn't, they're great issues to have. You can't go wrong with it. There's no downside.
Yeah, and like you just said, I think Armor Wars is the perfect place for it. I mean, it makes sense. So
yes.
Yeah, I'm looking these up. These are very affordable keys, man.
Yeah,
which is why I'm
looking now, man, and it's quite cheap.
Well, so this is an exclusive on your guys' show. The first people watching this are anyone in the chat, and you guys know about it. So anyway, that's why I wanted to bring to the table.
Dan the man.
Well, when you do something for as long as I have, you're going to get good at it. You have to,
There you go.
Because I've been at it. Think about it. I've been at it almost half a century. So that's a long time to be following comic books and Star Trek and I have so many stories in my head, and I love having this knowledge because when I watch something like Loki or WandaVision, I'm just having a great time seeing how they unlock it. Because
does that include you stopping in the 90s or?
No, that does no.
You didn't miss much in the late 90s anyway. So
no, I walked away for a reason. So think about this though. You guys are Star Wars guys, right? You guys love Star Wars. I remember I remember a time there was no such thing. There was no Darth Vader, no George Lucas.
You're lying.
All you had was Star Trek, the original version of Star Trek. There was nothing else there. And being a nerdy kid in Oakland, if you were caught loving Star Trek or comic books, you were outed. You were the biggest nerd. Nobody wanted to talk to you, and it was like, it was a horrible childhood. It just was. So now I'm having fun in my older years because I get to have fun with this stuff, and I've absolutely fallen in love with this comic book community. I just have.
Same.
And I want to show my appreciation. That's why I've adopted certain shows, and I'm making an announcement right now. I'm adopting your guys' show. I think you guys have a great show. You have a wonderful chemistry with the three of you. You've got a lot to offer. You've got a great chat. So, Face, go ahead and show them your 500 giveaway that I've solidified today.
Ooh.
Well,
you got it, Face? Can you bring it up?
The actual picture of that one I can't because I think that was the one that like I said I was already in.
Then go back to the raw copy. That'd be fine.
But yeah, that one I can bring up.
That's fine. That's all we need. That's all we need.
I'm hearing raw copy. Slab
copy.
Oh,
you'll see in just a second when Face brings it up.
So can I leave this show and not be a part of it just so I can win this, and then you guys can get me back on the show?
I tried that. On Newbie's channel.
All right. Because I've adopted other shows and I have the means to be able to do it and help out other shows. I want to give your subscribers, however you want to do it, whether it's 500, 1,000, it's your show. I secured a 9.2 white pages CGC version of this. It's a gorgeous copy. So this will be your copy to win on this show.
That is awesome, and we definitely we appreciate that, Dan, for sure.
Thank you.
And we, you know what, we will do an episode here directly where we're going to announce exactly how we'll do the giveaway and all of the details on that and everything like that. So we'll get you back on here with us to do all that for sure.
Well, I want the show to grow. I want the subscription rate up. I want more viewers because, again, you have a lot to offer. And again, I don't know if you guys realize you're on the ground floor of a new medium. There's so many people that are interested in this, and that you find good content and good chemistry and good information. That's a winning combination.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah. Especially as the new guy, I appreciate that.
Oh, no worries. We were all the new guy once. So if I may, just a quick shout out to, if you don't win here, you've got another chance to win on Spine Ticks, because I'm giving them this raw copy here, 170. This is a pretty issue, by the way. This could be 9.6 or better. I don't want to say, I don't want to get everyone's hopes up, but it's a beautiful raw copy, and they also get 169 on Spine Ticks. It's 2 raw copies for them, so that's another show that I sponsor. The other is Chris from Journos, another great show, so check him out. You guys should interact with each other because he's just a man with a lot of passion. And how I met all of you guys was on the Comic Book Canon show. Fridays to me is the best day because you got both those guys on that show. They have great content and it's just a fun show.
For sure, yeah, absolutely. If you guys haven't checked out Chris over on Journos and on Comic Book Canon, by all means, definitely check them out. They do a great show over there, like Dan said. We've done. We've been on. I know I was on with Chris once. I think Newbie's been on a few times now. I believe. I'm not certain. So yeah, it's definitely a blast getting to talk to those guys for sure.
Oh, and there's one other show I sponsor. It's a little known show called The Newbie Show.
Yeah.
But I sponsor it.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Newbie, I hope you're listening. But I haven't faced you and I will talk off air, but I've got a 5K for your guys' show. It's another great show. It's again great chemistry, great information. I want you guys to keep moving up because you have a lot to offer. Man,
God bless your soul. Thank you
so much. We have no plans on going anywhere, so we're sticking around.
Oh yeah,
yeah, you guys are stuck.
Tim Sinkovitz, the Times Spine Ticks is a great Saturday nights are great. That's a fun show. Spine Ticks. That's just those guys are hilarious.
Sure. I've been talking to Sith, so there's a challenge. I have to beat Face's record. I think he was on for how long? It was like 9 hours.
Shit, I don't even know. It was a long time.
Yeah.
If I have to get up in the middle of the night for whatever reason, I go downstairs to my computer, see if he's still on.
Yep.
Just to give him crap. And by the way, I see Michelle from Moonlit. She's another person that we've become friends. She's a great gal. You should have her on your show. She's dynamite. She knows the new comic market as well as anybody else. She's attractive, knows her stuff, and that's a winning combination. It just is. So you might consider having on your show at some point.
Yeah, I go on her Instagram page pretty often. She's got great content too.
Oh, she's a doll. She's a doll.
Yep. Yeah. And she opens her books like not many of us do. So embrace that.
She's great. She's great. Right. Yep. That's why you do it in the first place. Yep.
Yeah. Who reads them?
Right.
Just get them in slabs. Right. That's how they come.
So do you guys what do you do now? Do you go to New Comics? You review now?
So for us, this is the portion of the show where we get to jump into our new comic book day and our FOC picks.
So can I stick around about 6 if you don't mind? Because if I want to see New Comics, that's what I would do anyway.
We will probably actually be done with it before then. It doesn't take too long, but
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start by jumping in on the FOC picks. So I'll get those pulled up here. And these are going to be comics that are releasing, let's see, what was it? The week of the 11th, August 11th. So
Now this is where you guys educate me, because I'm just going to sit back and be an observer.
All right, so here we go. It's loading. There we
A
go.
lot of details.
Right?
Booyah.
All right, so this is the first book that we got. And you know what? This is a BC and Keith's pick. I'm completely putting the blame on you guys for this one because man, this shit looks like Avengers Mech Strike to me. Didn't we just get this miniseries?
So this is what I'm getting out of it too. I read the entire description of this book, which seems kind of cool. Basically, the heroes have been kind of like stripped of their powers type thing, and they have to like rely on Tony's tech in order to avenge. But for myself, totally Mech Strike. Like I geeked out. It was like a Marvel Transformers thing. I loved it, but I'm not specking on this. Don't spec on it. I'm just enjoying it. So this is my pick.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
It looks interesting. It kind of reminds me of that Infinity Gauntlet cover a little bit.
Yeah. Minus the stones.
Right.
That tech on, yeah.
Just a big cannon in the back of it.
Yeah, tech on.
That's cool.
I mean, Iron Avengers, they debuted, 1999-ish. We could see a new couple members of the team. I'm pretty sure that there's a little partnership with Bandai for this. So possible weird Iron Suit toys coming out. Maybe some Power Ranger-ish thing.
Exactly. I'm like all hyped about those toys.
Don't let Newbie know.
Yeah.
I might pick this up.
So, like, is Iron Man just going to be, the
Red Ranger?
Iron Man?
The Red Ranger.
Red Ranger.
So everybody's getting an upgrade, but Iron Man's just going to continue doing his same old shit.
Because it's not the suit. It's the man underneath the suit. Face, come on.
That's how Newbie tried to sell it, too.
Yeah, shoot. I did feel like it for a second there.
No, it's a dope cover though, a dope Iron Man cover. I'm sure Newbie will grab it. I'm gonna grab it too. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna grab one for sure. All right, moving on. This is a cover. This is actually not the A cover.
The A cover is nice too, though.
This comics, yeah, the A cover is good. I actually specifically chose this cover though. This is Batman '89 #1. And the reason I put it on there because we get this version of Two-Face, which was a version that we never got in the movies or the comics or anything like that. Yeah. It's Billy D. Williams' version.
Hell yes.
Of Harvey Dent as Two-Face. So they're kind of continuing from where the 1989 movie went, and just figured because getting that version of Two-Face, it might be something that people are interested in. I know I am personally, so I'm picking it up.
Definitely. Were you a fan of this Batman, Mr. Dan?
Yes. First of all, Michelle, you got to behave. I mean, we pick on you all the time. But to answer your question, Keys, yeah, that I did love the Batman, and again, it was just a numbers thing. I couldn't afford the books when I was a kid, so I just stuck with Marvel. But this is cool. Then I if I was to buy new books, I'd be a sucker for cover art.
Oh yeah,
I'd buy this simply because of the cover.
That's all of us.
Yeah, I love this cover with getting the Billy D. Williams Two-Face on because it was something I wanted to see whenever I was watching the movies, especially as I got an adult. I always thought man, if only Tim Burton would have gotten to continue the Batman series, could have got some pretty cool stuff. So that was definitely one of my choices, and I think everybody, all three of us, I believe, are on this series.
Yep.
Of course.
All two of you guys.
Everybody's getting into Kanto. This is going to be the second issue of the new series. It says 3. I think it's actually like 4. But
all right, boys.
For those that don't know, what is this? What's the background with the story?
Sell it.
Go ahead, Keith.
Nah, I don't know. I don't know a thing. I just have the first issue. I haven't
You don't-
cracked it. I'm
You
scared,
haven't read Kanto yet? Oh my god.
bro. I'm
All right,
scared.
so it's kind of an all ages type of thing, but you know, it definitely has an appeal for all audiences. They call him a clockwork knight, and
Mm-hmm.
man, he's all heart. I guess that's the best
Oh.
way to explain it. There's been a few different miniseries so far. The last one, you know, Land of the Giants, or is that what it's called? Land of the Giants? Something having to do with Giants. I can't. City of Giants. There we go. City of Giants. It just wrapped up, and I believe that's a direct lead into this miniseries.
I didn't read issue 3 yet, but
Yeah, I haven't finished the third issue yet either. I just
Dan, just to put it very quickly into perspective. Like, I'm not gonna go deep into the story, but I'll just put it out there. It's one book that I've read where I feel like no matter what age you are, you can relate to this. So, sincerely, great book.
It looks like an
Little knight
adorable.
that
Looks
could.
like an adorable character. You know,
Yeah.
as far as for all ages.
it is for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a tough one to describe without spoiling too much.
Okay. All right.
Is it like a
Right.
mythical Rudy, little player that could, you know?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
All
All
right,
right.
bless.
Oh, whoops. I guess we're backing up now. There we go. Oh no, not that one yet. I was saving that one. I wanted to save that one for last. I forgot it was on here. I was saving that one just for Dan. So
Michelle,
We'll
I
go back
said,
to it.
I said this on Newbie Show, man. It should be a video game.
What?
Right?
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me stop you guys. Even before you say a word, I'm in.
There you go.
Defenders.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And
This
Key.
is a new Defender series that's coming out,
Oh,
and
great.
I think it looks awesome with the Trad Moore art.
100%. Face,
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, you look great in a suit, dude.
I thank you.
Bro.
Thank you. I thought he did catch one of my better sides there. So I can't believe they actually let me hold the gun.
right. But yeah, what issue is this?
This is number 1. This is the start of the new Defender
Nice.
series, and I'm actually not sure. I think it's a mini series.
Cool.
I'm on it.
So Defenders. It looks like it's a different iteration of the team, but we got, because I believe we got Red Harpy there.
Yeah.
I don't know is that Vapor in the back? I don't know who the hell that is in the back. I have no idea who that is.
We're gonna find out.
Yeah,
Eventually.
pretty much. So I know Dan is a big fan of Defenders, so of course I wanted to include this on our list.
Huge fan.
More milestone returns.
Yes.
We're getting the first issue of Hardware. Keys, go ahead. You take it away on this one.
Man, first issue came out in the 90s, like 93-ish. The writing is kind of dated if you were to read it. But Milestone Returns did a great job of refreshing. It feels new. For those who don't know, because not a lot of people do know this character, imagine a grown-up Riri Williams. A grown-up out of school that actually works for a company. Very smart, but came from very humble beginnings and didn't have the means to, afford certain things. So this company produced it for him, and he's a genius. And boom, he has a tech suit. So it's pretty much like a take on Riri Williams, if you will. But
You just didn't want to give Iron Man that credit.
No, not at all. No, Iron Man's rich. Iron Man was born rich. This guy, not so much.
Okay.
So, I mean, the new Static is so far phenomenal. So I'm going to be collecting these first issues as they reintroduce into the popular mainstream, hopefully. Spec-wise, it's probably just going to retcon a piece of the original stories. So that spec probably won't come for another couple of issues. But an interesting read, most likely so.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad to see them bringing back the Milestone comics, and I'm picking them up too. So
definitely.
I feel like I got to give this one to Keys again, just because
It's his boy.
All right, this is the reason I fell in love with Image Comics. Spawn is getting a new title. King Spawn. It's going to bring back, once again, an old character from back and for one of the original characters, although we don't know which one exactly. However, I love my Spawn. I love what they're doing with this. Everybody's hyped up, especially with Spawn Universe, which is the kickoff point to this new title. People forget that there already was the Curse of the Spawn, and that didn't do great. So I'm going in there like a hurt lover. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, I love you, but I just, I'll see where it goes for now. Yeah. I'm not 110% convinced, but it's looking pretty bright, and I hope Image has learned from the past Spawn title, Curse of the Spawn,
Medieval Spawn.
Yeah. I hope they've learned, and I hope we power through with new ideas. And I mean, the art has been phenomenal. I haven't seen a bad Spawn cover in a long time.
Dude.
And the interior is just as good. So,
yep.
Yeah, we'll hope for the best. We'll hope this relaunch of the Spawn multiverse takes off.
This is it.
And we'll go ahead and give this one to BC because, just feels appropriate.
I feel like if you haven't got on this, you totally missed the boat. Issue 1 till now has been stellar. It's great. I'm loving every ounce of this story. This is issue 4, which is issue 5 is going to be the final. So, I mean, if you're reading it, like, you already know. If you're not, get on it. I'm not going to go too deep into it.
Well, hold up. I got to ask a question.
Yep.
That appears to be snow, right?
Sure.
Turtles don't do well in the cold. I think we know what happened here.
They're mutant turtles.
All right. I guess that's a good enough defense.
I've got a question too. Is that an $8.99 cover price?
Yes, it is.
That is in fact an $8.99 cover price.
It's thick books, man. They're magazine size.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
are these square bound books?
They are. Yep.
Okay.
But like I said, I don't want to give too much away, Dan. I don't know if you've been reading this. If you haven't, there's one surviving turtle in the future. So he's
the one that was good with the cold.
Yeah, I guess. Yes. But I was
last one is great for sure.
Yeah, like I said, it's hard to go into this one without saying too much, but it's been a good read, man. And seriously, I just get on it. Seriously, Dan, I think I have an extra. I'll send it to you, man.
All right, and last but not least, Nocterra number 6. Actually, I don't know if this is last, so I could be wrong. Nocterra number 6, Scott Snyder series. It's characters are, I guess they live in a world that is perpetually dark, I guess is the best way to explain it. And in that dark, there are a lot of the creatures that, want to eat you or whatever. And it's been a pretty good series so far. Definitely love Scott Snyder's writing. Very, very. It's kind of I guess it's sort of a mix between the superhero genre and horror a little bit. It's a good way to explain it. Totally worth picking up with you.
Spot on.
Yeah. Survival genre is another good one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely worth a read if you haven't checked it out yet. This is probably the end of the first arc, so you can probably look for some kind of, I don't know, I guess wrap up or some new details that we're going to get out of what's going on. So this is probably a good issue to pick up if you haven't jumped on the series already. All right.
That's a good selling point, man. I can't even.
BC, I believe this was one of your picks.
Yeah. So issue 1 just came out last week. I finally got to read it Sunday. It was kind of I don't want to say messy. It wasn't messy, but there was a lot to take in. But the story is quite intriguing. So I'm going to give issue 2 definitely a shot because I think there's a lot of potential here. But I think issue 2, 3, as normally, every series is going to be the make or break it for me. But there's a lot of potential in this story.
Yeah, and I think this is the same writer that's doing Radiant Black, right?
I believe so.
Kyle Higgins. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Higgins.
Yeah, and I love Radiant Black, so I did
Yeah,
pick
but-
up the first issue of Ordinary Gods. I haven't got to read it yet, but
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I'll be grabbing the next one.
Yep, same.
I'm halfway through the first issue, so I don't know how halfway.
But I feel like there was so much going on, so it was like, okay,
I reread
yeah,
a couple panels, and by
Yeah,
a couple I
that-
mean like a page or two.
oh
Right.
yeah.
Mm.
BC, one of you guys want to go ahead and grab this one?
Keys, floor is yours.
Oh man, I've only read the first two, and they were phenomenal.
Yep,
So that's definitely your pick.
yep.
Okay.
Issue 4 is dropping this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yep. So
Yeah.
basically, what we get is every issue. So the first issue, like I said last night, it was an easy sell for me because it was a musician with this coin, and music, comics. That's just my thing. But there's an eerie power behind this coin, and every issue has a different story. But only in the last issue, which was issue 3, we see someone with relevance, and it's this person here on the cover to this coin. So we finally see who it's tied to at this point, and I'm very curious to see where it goes now this week in issue 4, and definitely gonna pick up on it.
Yeah, and with the goat on there and that
Yep.
upside down cross and everything like that, I think it's a
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
good insinuation as to who that coin belongs to,
Oh yeah,
and how the storyline might play out. But
It's-
yeah,
it's-
I think this is a miniseries that's wrapping up soon. Also,
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah, it's been pretty good. They've bounced around from a few different writers on it, and yeah, it's been pretty good so far. So if you like horror, it might be worth a pickup
Yeah, as far as horror goes, it's not bad.
for sure.
Now that Conjuring, that was trash. But that's a whole other.
Right.
That was trash. That was trash.
All right, and that is the end of our FOC picks for the week of August 11th. Now, remember, the other thing that's important about that week is that is also the week of Free Comic Book Day.
oh yeah.
So, yeah, Saturday is going to be a big day too. There's a lot of different issues that are coming out that people are going to be wanting to snatch up for Free Comic Book Day, and it won't be as limited to Marvel and DC as it usually is.
AKA House of Slaughter.
Which,
Yeah,
if you
Stray
guys need
Dogs.
anything, let me know, because we don't really have limits where I live, so I can pick up a decent amount of these books if you guys miss out.
Oh, nice.
Just let you know.
But there's also the Avengers Hulk one that I think people should definitely grab.
Oh, yeah.
There's the
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
of course, you want to grab the Marvel and the DC stuff.
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. But there's even a Batman one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Well,
Hey,
well,
it's
if anything, you guys have convinced me to visit my LCS. I mean, there's a couple of ones here, and I'm in Sonoma County, so there's one in Petaluma and one in Santa Rosa. I might just stop in, and now you've given me some ideas, and I'll just say, BC Keys and Face sent me, so
There you go.
You got to take care of me.
They're gonna be like,
And they
who?
will give you a
Yeah.
0% discount.
If they say that, I'm walking out. If they don't know
There
you
you
guys.
go.
Just make sure they subscribe.
Right, not worth your time.
But Dan, anytime you want to speak, now that we finally met, reach out. I'm more than always willing to talk about comics. Hit me in the inbox about modern, even gold,
That's what she said.
silver, bronze.
Not touching that one. Not touching that one. No, but yeah, I'm on IG, so Face and I talk all the time. And when there's something that comes up,
Yeah.
when Face let me know about the what was it, Hercules and Zeus was coming in,
Yeah.
we were bouncing back and forth. Hey, it's the Mighty Ultimax. There's a great guy to
For
have
sure.
in the community. That man is a walking encyclopedia of comics, and I'm so happy he's with us because it's stunning what this guy knows. It
Yeah,
really
he
is.
really is.
He's more than impressive. But no, we talk all the time on IG. So when something comes up, we share ideas, and so
Yeah.
I'll be happy to share. Share what I know with decades of experience. I'm bound to come up with something.
Michelle, we're gonna make it our goal.
All right, so I'll go ahead and pull up the new comic book day picks, and yeah, these are just picks that are coming out on Wednesday that we like, or have some kind of, intrinsic value to them, as far as we can tell, anyway. And first one on the list, this is one I threw on there because I actually, so I had known beforehand there were reports that they were bringing back Zealot, but I guess the earlier reports on this issue are even more so than that they're bringing back the full Wildcats team somewhere in this issue. I don't know anything about the story details. I've been grabbing the urban legends and reading them and everything like that, kind of anthology-ish sort of. But yeah, I mean, Wildcats coming back, I think is pretty cool. I love the Wildcats. Hopefully they'll do better than the last reboot. For sure.
Hey, hush your mouth. Hush your mouth.
So, Keys, you got animated on this book. What do you have to say about it?
That guilty pleasure that is the 90s Image Comics. And I mean, Grifter got introduced into DC, 2011, 2012? The New 52. That's Flashpoint. So for me, it's kind of nice to see the whole team come through to DC. It would be cool.
Yep.
It will be cool.
Yeah, it sounded like we're getting the entire Wildcats team coming over. So
does that mean that those books that infest your dollar bins are going to turn to something?
Probably
I
not.
doubt it. I doubt it.
They might go up to $3. No.
My short box filled of them though.
Yeah, that whole long box filled with Wildcats number one.
Hey, that's a 200% increase.
Right? You made a hell of a profit.
Think positive.
Oh man.
I'm a big fan of this one right here. Ultra Maximus, like you said, dropping knowledge. Please revive Gen 13 in mainstream DC. I agree. Absolutely. Please bring back Gen 13, Fairchild, Rainmaker, Roxy, Grunge, the whole crew.
Hey.
That's definitely somebody at DC. Take that hint, please. All right.
Hey, here's a thought. Does anyone in the comic community talk to the writers at DC? Is there any connection? Because clearly there's lots of suggestions. Are they listening to the audience? Are they listening to the readers? I kind of think that the answer is no.
Yeah.
It depends. Some creators are a whole lot more accessible than other ones. So we've had some good luck with some people that we talk to, and with some things that we're working on. Other creators, and I won't lie, it does tend to be more creators that are with the big two are a little bit harder to stay in contact with and everything, or to contact and everything like that. But they've got a lot on their plates too. So
yeah. But you guys in the commentary community, again, you're at a new medium. You're reaching out hundreds of thousands of people, and you're reaching the actual audience, and you're in direct contact with them. One would think that there should be more of a connection to the people that are producing all this stuff. Now, the independents seem to be more accessible.
Yeah.
But I'm, of course, talking about Marvel and DC, and it seems like, I don't know, there seems to be this disconnect or this wall that there isn't any, interaction with you guys. Because you guys know what you want. I mean, Ultra Maximus was saying he wants this. And is anyone listening to him? That would be not a bad thing to look into.
Oh, I agree entirely. And hopefully we'll see them start doing that and kind of take that leap. But we'll see. We'll see what happens down the road.
Yeah, Dan. Honestly, these videos stay up on YouTube. If they watch it, great, man. I sincerely hope they're listening. But
Yep. Yeah, there's, like I said, there's a lot of good creators out there for sure that you can contact, and we'll definitely give you the time of day. So
for creators, yes, but I've come to learn so far, having dipped into Instagram and doing those brackets that I had done when I first started up until now. It was a lot of the artists that were very interactive.
I was just gonna say,
yeah. Mm-hmm. They were responding to me nonstop. I still have convos and they'll respond to me, and it's like, okay, it's super cool and you can tell they're very appreciative. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I haven't really reached out to a writer, so
okay.
I'm gonna try this.
All right. So we talked about this on the FOC portion. So we probably don't need to say a whole lot in regards to this one. This is the first issue of the new miniseries. of Kanto. So obviously this is a great jumping on point. We know we're getting some kind of animated, I believe, feature of Kanto in the future, and there's probably going to be several of them. So the spec value on Kanto is pretty high right now. So if you can jump in and grab these, while they're releasing for cover price, definitely when you want to do it.
Yeah, Dan, Kanto number 1, the first print it's a $1,000 book.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
All right. Keys, you want to go ahead and take this one away? I think this was your pick.
Oh yeah, this is mine. This is Eve number 3. If I could sum it up really quick, it's like the Last of Us video game, so a survival video game or survival story based on a young girl and a animatronic cyborg possible killing machine stuffed teddy bear that her dad made her to protect her in this wasteland that is this apocalyptic future. And you know what? No spoilers because they're on the cover. She actually bumps into a band of most likely children, and that is where it ended on the 2nd issue. So this is going to take off. We're only 3 issues deep. It's still early in the game, but it's captivating. It's like the beginning is much like The Matrix, and now it's more like a survival, post-apocalyptic, Waterworld-ish type story. It's pretty cool so far.
Well, if I wasn't already on Eve, you had me at Killing Machine Teddy Bear. So
Yeah, that was
that was all I needed as a selling point. All right, BC, you want to go ahead and take this one away?
Yep. So I don't know. Like I said, if you guys have had the chance to check out the preview, definitely do. There is a guest appearance. The artwork is actually, this cover is paying homage to Ice Cream Man number 1. So it's an awesome cover A cover. The cover B is probably going to be the one that explodes, like we were mentioning last night, simply because it's a Dr. Seuss homage, and those things have been quite successful. So if you find one, score them. I'm going for a cover A, B, and C. I find the C a super nice cover as well. And so just to give you guys a heads up, if you missed it, check the previews on Previews World. Joaquin Phoenix actually makes an appearance in here. So
what?
Which is super cool. And I'm a fan of all these series, so I'm definitely picking up multiple covers for this. There's a lot of great ones out there, especially when you start looking at the exclusives for it. So,
yep.
And it's wrapping up the series too. So that is the end of the Haha series.
Yep.
This is one that I put on there. It's one of the last titles before the final 5, I guess, for Bad Idea. It's the lot number 1. And I've actually liked everything that I've read from Bad Idea so far. So, I went ahead and getting this series and grabbing the final 5 because, I've enjoyed everything that I've read from them so far. So I don't know a whole lot about this other than it takes place on a haunted movie set. And that was just a good enough premise for me to be willing to check it out since everything else they put out has been pretty solid. Kind of sad to see them go, but I don't think it's going to be the last we see of Bad Idea. I think we'll just see a different iteration of them.
Yeah.
Hopefully, anyway.
Dan, are you familiar with this publishing company's practices? Just because.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that. First of all, this looks like a 40s Hollywood cover.
Yeah.
Right.
It's got that
100%.
sort of feel, minus the blood. But you guys were talking about this some weeks ago, and I had seen one of the co-CEO of Bad Idea. He was on Chris Wajerno and Jeff, and they interviewed him some weeks back. And he seemed, and again, I don't know their history or anything, just on the surface, it seemed like this was it. They were just going to close their doors. But if you guys are right and they come back in another form, doesn't that sort of like ruin their credibility? Like, hey, it's like those rock bands that say we're on our final tour, where our career is over. And then you spend a fortune going to their concert. And then 2 years later, it's a revival tour. We're back, and you're pissed off because, well, wait a minute, you said you guys were going away. That kind of thing. So wouldn't wouldn't fans sort of have that reaction to bad idea if they started up as good idea or whatever they come up with?
It's funny because we've said that the good idea thing.
Well, you know what? I think a lot of it will depend. I'm not sure how if they are going about a relaunch. I'm not sure exactly how they would be going about it. But I guess if they're going to relaunch, and I guess maybe change their distribution methods and everything like that, people will be more receptive to it, possibly. I guess there's been some rumors that they might be partnering up with somebody else. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Basically, that's all we can do at this point.
That's true.
Well, what if
I hope they do
what-
stick around.
Well, what if they
Would that-
restarted in another way? Are they that good? You guys like their content enough to follow their new iteration?
I don't think they
I
have
would.
that much of a history though. Like, I mean, the content's all right, but they haven't been around long enough to make a real dent in the game. Like they made a splash. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it out there that my bad idea experience is an absolute zero, simply because I don't have it available to me whatsoever. I can't pick it up anywhere.
Is that
Yeah, I
a
think that's
distribution?
one of the things
BC,
that
is that a
hurt 'em.
distribution problem?
Well, yeah, they've got like their select vendors up here in Canada and whatnot, so it's very limited. We don't really get it. Like there's no copies where I'm at. You know what I mean? So
Zero.
the only way I can pick it up is through eBay. And sincerely, I'm not going to spend $80 on one of these books. I'd rather go get another key issue that I actually care about. You know what I mean? Not that I don't care about this, but like I'm just not comfortable spending $80 on something that I have no idea about. When
Yeah.
Face, what's your
It's
take?
hard for a lot of people to get in if they can't access it. So,
yeah, that's it.
Face, what's your take on bad idea?
like I said, I've enjoyed everything that they put out so far. Definitely been a huge fan of it. I would absolutely check them out again if they, they sort of relaunch or they partner up with somebody or something like that. I don't know how well they would do, with a relaunch or anything like that, because like I said, accessibility is going to be key for them if they do. So, for me, yeah, I would pick them up just because I've liked them. I've liked the pretty much everything about their books, from the covers, and that card stock that you get to the art. The print quality has been great. So, yeah, it's kind of a shame to see them go away.
Okay.
Yep. I agree. And sincerely, like on my end, every book looks amazing. It's just maybe I'm being sour or bitter that I can't get a hold of it. You know what I mean? But otherwise, you would know best. You're reading them. So I do hope
But I mean, you guys are emphasizing the point. Accessibility is key, because I feel like you guys would probably love a few of their titles.
100%.
Hold them easier. So.
Yep.
All right. BC, I think this was
What
you.
the
Adam?
hell is this?
No,
Yeah, this is definitely BC.
it's the Cursed, man. This cover alone.
Man-eaters.
It's funny because I know Michelle was actually on our show on the show last night, but this cover, especially in particular, it's got in Italian we call it the malocchio, which is the evil eye. So given the whole concept of this book with the curse, normally we call that evil eye someone putting a curse on you. So I'm curious to see where this goes. I'm going to give it a read. Both covers are pretty nice too. You got this one and the cover B, which has like a butterfly.
The other eye?
Yeah.
The Cursed, also known as CBS News.
Oh.
Sorry. I should keep my mouth shut. You'll get kicked off of YouTube.
No, we're good. I think we can say that.
But
there, like you said, there's two different covers that are coming out for it, and both of them are really simplistic but really cool. So,
yep,
gonna check it out. I know there was a miniseries, I guess, before this, that's interrelated to it, but I don't know anything about it. Did not pick it up, but these covers are good enough that I'm checking it out. So.
Yep.
Mr. Key Issues. You want to
And I
keep
said
calling
it
Terry a
once.
big scepter?
Yeah, I do. But a said it once. I said it again. I'll keep saying it. This is an underrated series. It is a fun anime-esque title. The pacing is insanity. It's like kind of like a Mad Max pacing. They just are on the run constantly. The premise is simple enough to follow, but not too simple where like it's boring, you know? Pretty much people, a certain sect, are tasked the responsibility to carry briefcases. And in each briefcase, firstly, there are 7 of them, are secrets to the world, whether it be weapons or some sort of otherworldly entities or whatever. We don't actually fully know yet because we're only about 9 issues deep. But no, this is a solid run. Tom Taylor writing.
Oh yeah.
The art is phenomenal.
Breathtaking. I love it.
Yeah, honestly, I suggest just pick up 1 issue, leaf through it. That's all I can read. Yeah.
I like the
fine.
caption. I like the caption. Keep calm and carry a big scepter.
Yeah.
You know,
That's working for me.
To be honest, that was the most random cover. I don't know why they put that there, to be honest, but
I know, right? It fits none of the other covers that they've had.
None of them. Yeah.
The cover B is actually a John Boy cover, which is an absolute beautiful cover too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yep.
It's definitely a great series. Tom Taylor's killing it with everything that he's writing, and 7 Secrets is definitely at the top of the list. And if you're not picking it up already, you should definitely check this series out.
Yeah.
Great read. Silver Coin number 4. Again, not a lot we really need to say about this one because we just talked about the 3rd issue of it. Everything like that. This one is written by Jeff Lemire, and it's going to expand upon what we learned in 3 and lead into more about obviously what we're going to see with that character for 5, I think. But it'll do it in its anthology sort of style, so it'll kind of give us that information piecemeal.
Oh yeah. Horror, man. It's taking over.
All right, Skybound X number 2.
Yeah, man.
Who got that one? Who grabbed that one?
Oddly enough, it was I.
Was that Keys?
Only because of the first appearance of a Stillwater character. So I was going purely off spec on this one, and I haven't had a chance to read the first one yet. So I'm not too sure. Wasn't any good because I have not had a chance. It was decent.
So from what I understand now, basically just reading it, it's a bunch of like little mini stories on all of these characters. But the one with the Clementine girl from The Walking Dead, it's a good read. The Rick story is kind of
Rick
strange.
2000.
Yeah, it kind of feels weird. Like I was actually speaking about this with Marvel Pacino in the group, and it does really feel like a parody. I don't know what they're doing, so I'm gonna give it a shot. But it's kind of cool how there's 5 different stories going on, and some of them I'm intrigued on, the other ones not so much.
True. So, yeah. I mean, one of the first appearances in this book, their name is Everyday Hero Machine Boy. Like, what in the world kind of a name is that? Yeah. But that's like Negasonic Teenage Warhead. I'm willing to find out. I am willing to find out here.
For sure.
Well, I'm picking up the Skybound X. It's only 5 issues. Again, it is sort of anthology style. Maybe a little what if or Elseworlds. But there are some new characters that are showing up in some of these that may be relevant down the road. And there apparently is a new series that is going to be I guess given like a spotlight in one of these issues that's coming up soon. I'm not sure which one it is. I think it's like it might be number 3. I'm not sure right offhand, but so definitely checking these out. And you got Rick Grimes with a fucking lightsaber, so I mean, how much more cool can it get?
Yeah.
This is one that I added to the list. So I don't know a whole lot about what exactly is going on with this comic, other than it's related to a movie apparently that's coming out later this year. But from the synopsis, group of girls, I think they have like some kind of car trouble or whatever. They get a tow. I'm not sure how or why, but they end up going to sleep, maybe in a hotel room at wherever they get towed to or some shit like that. And they wake up with weapons for limbs and are have to fight each other. Very grindhouse. There's actually, I think there's like 4 different covers to it. But yeah, it sounds like a cool premise. I'm gonna check out the comic, and yeah, I'm gonna check out the movie now too, for sure. So it looks dope as shit. I was surprised when Keith didn't have it. I can't believe he missed it.
I know,
Sleeping on
man.
it.
I
He's
slept.
sleeping.
Thank you for introducing me to it.
But yeah, it looks dope as hell. I'm definitely checking it out. It's first issue, so why not?
My only thought on this is these gals would be the scariest date you ever gone on.
Yo, right?
Right? A battle axe for an arm.
One person has like a saw. Like, what in the world?
Oh, and last but not least, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 119. This is actually specifically the Eastman cover. There's a 1 in 10 that's really dope too. The A cover's cool. It's just not as cool as this. The Eastman cover, I love this one because it kind of gives us a look at, the Weasels and Lita all suited up as, the future of the Ninja Clan. Like, this is the future of the Ninja Clan that we got here. So it's cool getting these characters, on the cover like that, drawn by Eastman with their masks on and everything. And they're quickly becoming, if you're a Team NT fan, all of these characters are quickly becoming fan favorites. So totally worth picking up as just a cover buy. If you're not on TMNT, it's a great read. Definitely.
Is it just me, or just based on the cover, it looks like a Young Avengers flavor to it?
Yeah, it kind of does have that.
Huh.
Yeah. And like Ultra Maximus said here in chat, the Eastman art is always like a last minute reveal. Because it does tend to spoil certain things about the issues and everything. It's always great to see the Eastman style, but you kind of have to buy those covers as a leap of faith if you're getting them on, pre-FOC. So,
but I almost feel like you never lose with Eastman.
I agree. And that's it. That's what we got today, guys. That's the show.
You guys hearing the noise?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
No idea.
I have no idea where that's coming from.
What do you guys hear?
It's like a
I don't
weird
hear anything on my end.
No?
It's good here. No, it's good here. So.
Huh.
Listen, guys, I had a lot of fun. Let's do this again. I've got to run to another Zoom meeting, actually, believe it or not, at 6:30, so I got to set up somewhere else.
Oh, no problem, man.
But this is fun. When your giveaway comes in, Face, I'll text you with a better picture so you can promote it. Should be in probably sometime late next week, and we'll go from there. I'll be happy to. I don't know how you want to give it away, whether it's trivia or something. We'll figure out something.
Yeah, I'll get together with you on that for sure.
Okay, and I'll take care of all the shipping and all that. I'll handle that. You just let me know whoever wins, and I'll take it from there.
Okay.
Here.
If it's a guy named Mr. Key Issues, I'll have to check back with you guys to see if that's going to be legit. I don't know about that one. I don't know. I mean, I'm generous, but I'm not. I have my limits. So.
Well, man, thank you for stopping by, man. We really appreciate this.
Definitely, we appreciate you stopping by.
You guys are great. This is my fun new show to watch every Monday. So I'm a fan.
Well, we appreciate you watching, and we appreciate everyone tuning in. And guys, Dan's gonna get out of here. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here too. We'll let you guys go, and hopefully we'll see you again next week joining us here. And we'll have some announcements coming later on about what we're gonna be talking about this week on the show. So stay tuned for sure. And remember, stay informed, stay ahead. Peace.
Peace.
See you guys.
See you guys.